Well, we move into chapter 2 now, which is sets and reasoning. I've said it probably in another video already, but just to give you a heads up, this chapter in particular, this particular section is long. It's heavy. It's deep. There's a lot going on, and so you make sure to give yourself enough time to get through all of this content. Um, as a bit of an introduction, history lesson. Humans, like we've always sort of desired to count and keep records of things, right? Cave walls, etc. But we did not used to have a systematic way to do that. And so numerical records were really kept in other ways throughout history. Archaeologists over the years have unearthed things like animal bones with little notches on them from ancient times, put in different arrangements, right? Ways to keep records. They were a bit of like a tally of prehistorical numerical systems. And it was really just the beginning of the ideas of counting, right? Uh, Later in the 19th century, a mathematician by the name of George Cantor, Cantor, developed a new field of mathematics called set theory. And that's really what we're going to be exploring today. These sets were used to define numbers and different types of numbers and to group them into sets and develop the theory of infinite sets. I'll give you some fun facts about those throughout some of these videos. But in this section, what we're going to explore is the idea of what a set is and their relationships and how those relationships can really lay a foundation for a greater understanding of the number system that we use today. Like I said, this is one of the more involved sections of the course. It's going to challenge you to think in ways that might be new to you. It's definitely going to introduce you to some new terminology and also symbols, notation that goes along with this. You're going to want to practice this, study these, maybe make some flashcards if you need to. And so to ensure your understanding, we're going to use some of our manipulative kit in this one. If you don't have it yet, that's okay. You may just have to use some paper, maybe some colored pencils or pens or crayons or something to sketch some of these things out so you can get the full experience. But if you do have them, what I'll show you here is, let me actually remove my background so you can see it a little bit better. So you'll want to, the living room. So what you'll want for this one is these ones that are the attribute pieces. And the bottom it says black, red tiles. All you're going to need is this top section, right? So take these top pieces. You're going to punch them all out. So you're going to punch all top, and then those will go along with in this little card here, right? So the attribute pieces card. And you can see that there's 3 of each of these different groups. So you should end up with a total of 24 different attributes. When you were all said and done, punch those out. I'm going to be demonstrating things with those as well as we go through this. Get a Lions logo back up there. And so again, we're going to use those as we go through this this section a lot. And so let me share with you some terminology and just a bit of an overview of what this section is going to look like. Because again, there's a lot of terminology and this just addresses some of it. We're going to talk about sets and Venn diagrams. We are going to introduce terms like elements and empty set. We're going to talk about set relations, terms like disjoint sets, subsets, proper subsets, equal sets, a concept called one-to-one correspondence, equivalent or matching sets. And then we're going to do a little bit of set operations. Operations are like things you do to numbers, add, subtract, multiply, divide. Well, we're going to do that with sets of numbers, things called intersection and union, right? That's where you start to kind of like add and subtract sets, and they have symbols that go along with them as well. Something called the universal set, complements of sets. We'll also talk about finite and infinite sets. So as always, whenever possible, I like to connect what we are doing to the idea of teaching and learning. And so I am going to do a little copy and paste of some text here, just so you can read along with some of this stuff. And let's just pull you down, little paste, and let's talk about this. So in the first chapter, we talked about the Common Core standards for mathematical practice. They recommend that students at all grade levels, right? So these are things that are from kindergarten all the way up to seniors in high school, need to be able to first construct viable arguments and critique the reasoning of others, right? So they need to be able to sort of logic through certain things, arguments, and look at what other people say and say, oh, is that person's argument logical? Second, understand and use stated assumptions, definitions, and previously established results in constructing arguments. So how can I make a case for something using things that I are assuming to be true, definitions of things, and things I've already established, right? Things I've already sort of proven along the way. And then finally, make conjectures. We've talked about that word before. And build a logical progression of statements to explore the truth about their conjectures. So really, it's all about understanding why and how we make decisions. Nowhere did any of that talk about calculations, right? It's how we make decisions, how we analyze information, just to sort of better seek the truth. These skills are valuable in all realms of life, all sorts of different subjects, way outside the idea of just mathematics, right? It's all about sort of seeking the truth, analyzing information. Okay, that's what real mathematics is all about. And so we're going to start this. Lesson, this section, doing a little activity. And so this is where you're going to need to punch out your attribute pieces. I'm going to use these as well. And again, whenever you get to use these physical representations, do it. It enhances your conceptual understanding. Pause the video, use them, move them around. It helps you see things a little bit better. So we're going to do this introductory activity so you can get familiar with how to sort and classify these attribute pieces. And I've got a little digital version of what these look like too, that we'll see here. So once you get them all punched out, you can arrange them however you want, but they're going to look like this, different groups. And so what I want you to do is punch these out, pause the video for just a couple minutes, and take note of the different ways that these might be arranged or classified into different groups. There are a number of different groups. See how many different arrangements you can make if you put them into groups. And so do that. And then once you have done that, come back here and we'll continue with the activity. So I've got all of my pieces punched out now and just arranged on a piece of paper. And I asked you to consider all the different ways in which they might be grouped, just to get yourself acquainted with these. One way, as you see, is you could arrange them by color. We have red pieces, we have blue pieces, we have yellow pieces. Perhaps when you started exploring this, you said, well, I know I've got different shapes also, right? So we could arrange them into a group of circles. What else do we have? We could arrange them into squares and etc. Right? You don't need me to do all that for you, but right, that's kind of an idea, right? Circles, squares. We have hexagons and triangles. I guess I said I wasn't, but I'm going to do it anyhow. Hexagons and triangles, right? So they can be grouped into different shapes. Another way they could be grouped is into large and small. Did you notice that there are, for squares, for example, there's 3 large and 3 small, right? And for circles, same things. So we could put all the small pieces together and all the large pieces together, etc. We could keep grouping them in all these different ways. So we're going to use these characteristics that these different shapes have in order to start to draw some conclusions and analyze them, and again, group them into these ideas called sets, right? So we're going to be putting them in different sets. What I'd like you to do is get some paper out and draw something that looks like this. So where you have a piece of paper with two fairly large circles. This is a standard sheet of 8.5 by 11 paper. So get the two circles and just sort of draw them like that and like that. And once you get that done, we're going to label one of these circles as blue. So this is going to be blue. And the circle on the right will be hexagon. Hexagon. And they should overlap a little bit in the middle, just as you see there. And so now what you're going to do is you're going to use these attributes, right? So I'm going to dump all these, we call these the attributes, the attribute pieces. We're going to dump these all. And what your job to do is going to pause the video, but then do this task. You are going to place all of the blue attributes in the appropriate circle and all of the hexagon attributes in the appropriate circle. And be sure to consider specifically what's going to go in the overlapping region in the middle. And any attributes that don't belong inside either circle, put them on the paper, but just outside of the circles. So again, I will continue this, but go ahead and pause the video and try to do that task yourself. Put these arranged properly. So as I think through this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to shift my yellows out here because I know I don't. I'm just going to focus on the blues to start, right? That's my thinking process. Again, analyze your thinking process. How did you go about thinking through this? What was your process like? Okay. So I'm going to move all the blues over here. Okay. So all the blues have to go in on this side. And then I'm going to grab all the hexagons and I'm going to put those over on the right side. So anything that's not a hexagon, I'm just going to move to some other part of the paper. Again, hexagons have 6 sides. All right. So again, the ones that are outside can really go anywhere. One other thing you might have noticed, maybe or maybe not, but these all have labels on, right? So this one says LYS, which stands for 3 different characteristics. It's large, it's yellow, and it's a square. If we come up to, say, this one, this fellow right here, so this one says SBS. It's a small blue square. So they all have these labels as well. Okay, so I've got hexagons on the right. I've got blue on the left. But we also have this overlapping section. Notice that we have hexagons over here in the blue, but they're not also in this section. So we're going to have to move these hexagons there and there into this overlapping section in the middle. And this is what our arrangement should look like now, right? Where we have, let me scooch this up so you can see all my pieces, okay? We have all these other attributes, things that are red and yellow, triangles, squares, and circles outside the circles. But then inside, all of our hexagons are here, and all of our blue pieces are over there. All right? Okay. So I've got one more task I want you to do. I'm going to take this off, and I'm going to replace it with a paper with 3 circles. So I want you to do the same thing. Draw a paper, grab a paper, drag 3 circles, draw them. And once you get them drawn, we are going to label them as small. So small pieces belong inside that circle. The one over here on the left, I'm going to make this triangular pieces. So triangular pieces are going to go right there. And then this one on the right, this is going to be not blue. Any pieces that are, oops, I can spell, that are not blue are going to go in that circle on the right. So again, go ahead and arrange your attributes appropriately inside and outside the circle, making sure that you're giving special consideration to any of these overlapping sections in the middle. Okay, pause the video, complete that, and then come back while I work on it. I'm dumping all my pieces back over here. All right. So this one's going to be a little bit tricky. I'm going to move them all off to the side to start. I'm going to start with, again, hopefully you kind of monitored your thinking as you went through this. I'm going to start by just taking all my small pieces that I have, and I'm going to put them up here in the top, right? So my small pieces, I'm putting up in this top section, moving everything else just sort of out of the way. So I'm putting the big ones maybe off to the side, and small ones up top. And we've all sorts of different shapes that are small. Did I get them all? Yeah, so they're all my small pieces. Okay. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to actually move them out so they're in just sort of the top part of that circle, not in any of these overlapping yet. We'll get there. Now what I'm going to do is go to the triangular section, and I'm going to take any of my remaining triangles, and I'm going to put them in here in the bottom, this bottom part. Okay. And I don't think I have any other triangles left that are outside. And then over here are things that are not blue. So I'm going to take the rest of my pieces that are on the outside, and let's move all of these into the not blue section. So it should be something like that. All right. Okay. So again, this is just the very beginning. We're not done yet. Oh, I have one more, a red hexagon, not blue. Okay. So now what? Do these three pieces, we've got three pieces on the outside, large blue circle, square, and hexagon. Are we sure that those don't belong anywhere in here? They're not small, they're not triangular, and they're not blue. Or they are blue, so they don't belong in the not blue section. So these three remain on the outside. So now what we have to do is we have to look inside these circles and see if any of them belong in the overlapping regions. Well, I'm going to start with the small and the triangular. So I'm going to look at the section up here, the small pieces, and grab the triangular ones, and I'm going to move them over here. Okay? I'm going to move them all into that little section right there. All right. I'm not going to worry about this one yet. I'm just going to move them here. Okay. Now, I'm going to look in the triangular section. None of the small ones belong in there, so that's good. Let's go look from the left to the right. Triangular. Do any of those belong in the not blue circle? Well, yeah, that one, it's getting a little cramped, but we can do it. Those two belong in the not blue section. Okay. So we'll just stack those on top of each other. Here we have this one large triangle. In this section, not blue. So those are all not blue. But they don't belong in the small section. These are all large pieces. So far, I think we've got things arranged appropriately. Well, now let's go up to this small section. And now let's look to the right. Let's see if any of these small ones belong in this region. Well, this is the not blue section. So that means I would bring in the yellows and the reds. I'm going to leave the small blue ones up there. And I'm going to move all the yellows and reds that are small right down there. Okay. So the last thing we need to consider is what belongs in here. Okay. So this is something that would be a small and triangular and non-blue piece. So let's go through each of these three regions and see if any of them belong here. Well, it's small, it's triangular, and it's not blue. So it can fit inside the top circle, the left circle, and the right circle. But this one has to stay out here because it's small, it's triangular, but it is blue, so it can't shift into there. And then these are going to stay where they are because they're not triangles. These have to stay where they are because they're not small. And so that's what our final arrangement looks like. Again, these are small, not triangles, and they are blue. This is large, it's triangular, and it's blue. These are not blue, they're not small, and they are triangles. You can see how all these things now fit into these different regions. This process that we just went through is this of using these overlapping circles to make these diagrams and arrange pieces is called using a Venn diagram. We're going to spend a lot of time in this section using Venn diagrams. They are extremely useful when working with sets, and we are going to be using them throughout this chapter.